Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. You know it. It's 3:30 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, this is one of the videos I really honestly hope this video gets a lot of views because I have a lot of strong thoughts and ideas. There's a lot I could talk about this video. It's not about monetization or anything like that. Like I said, I got a lot of ideas and I want to hear your thoughts on them too. This happened on April 27th, the video. The links will be down below. I looked up several stories. I learned more. The first initial story was on TMZ. Then I looked it up on CNN, and I looked up on Fox and several San Francisco news articles because this happened in San Francisco. It says at a San Francisco Walgreens drugstore. Okay, and it involves a shoplifter being fatally shot by a security guard. This was on April 27th. Just within the last day or two, the DA in San Francisco said they are not going to press charges against the security guard. You got to see this video before you even make up your mind about this. I know there's a lot of property crime, homelessness. I live 3,000 miles away, and what exactly is going on in San Francisco, I can't tell you. You got to watch this video. First I'm going to describe the video to you. Then I'm going to tell you what I see, some of the things I picked up in this video, some of my thoughts. And of course, lastly, I'm going to relate to my life. There's similar things that's happened to me during the course of my life. Let's start with the video. This is April 27th, Walgreens, San Francisco. You see the video, the security video at the door. You see the security guard, Michael Anthony. Just for the sake of how this comes up when there's a fatal shooting, both the security guard and the shoplifter, well, the security guard is a black man. The shoplifter is a transgender, male to female black person, Banko Brown, and the security guard is Michael Anthony. Both are black people. Okay, in the TMZ article, I had no idea this was even they didn't even mention that this was a transgender person too, which it plays into my thoughts, and probably not how you think. Maybe not. Let's just talk about it. Okay, the video starts, and you see the security guard Michael Anthony moving, see somebody's coming towards him. He's blocking the way. They have the security posts at the door that detects people stealing, and he blocks the path of Banko Brown. He's carrying a bag. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. She's carrying a bag. They get into a fight. Michael Anthony is obviously, the security guard is no match. He lifts Banko Brown right off the ground in a chokehold. Banko Brown's feet weren't even on the ground. Throws him to the ground. I'm surprised he didn't choke her out. Supposedly, Michael Anthony, in the interview down below on CNN interview, he says, when he was interviewed about this, he says that she said that she was going to stab him. Okay. Michael Anthony lets go of her and tells her to leave the merchandise in the bag. Banko Brown doesn't. Picks up the bag, starts walking out the door, briefly turns back towards the security guard. The security guard grabs his weapon. Banko Brown has no knife, no nothing. And as Banko Brown is exiting the door, Michael Anthony fatally shoots him one time, dead, on the ground on the sidewalk. I watched the body language of all this, and Michael Anthony, man, I can't help but think, what I saw in the video, the first time I watched it, the security guard had like a proud strut as he walked out the door, like, yeah, that serves you right. That's what I saw. Okay. This supposedly Banko Brown is a transgender homeless person. And in the CNN interview, there's people saying, well, she was homeless, she was hungry, she was stealing for her food. This first thing I thought of was addiction. There's a big addiction problem in San Francisco. And this was a main way of getting money. And a lot of people I was associating with back when I was were homeless. And this was a main way that they got money. my first thought too is if somebody's going to steal, is this what's in the bag? I'm thinking, what's the purpose of why Banco Brown is stealing? Is it a ring of shoplifters, which does this for profit, which is probably one of the worst things for everybody, because that's just massive stealing on a massive scale that raises prices for everybody. Organized theft. Or is it for actual food, for something just to survive? Or is it for something to trade or sell, to buy drugs, needed drugs? And I've seen this before. When people want food, they usually go to the first thing, they're going to go to a supermarket. They're going to go for steak. Usually the people that I used to hang out with would go right for the frozen, the steak, the fish, and that stuff, the lobster, stuff like that, the most expensive stuff. I get the feeling, they don't say if Banco Brown has an addiction problem. I strongly, and I've talked about this in other videos, that when I've been to ANA meetings, there was a suspiciously large amount of people from the LGBTQ community, which I suspect is because of the way they had to grow up and everything, the pressures of being unaccepted in society. That's just my opinion on this. But I get the strong feeling that there's a good chance that Banco Brown might, this is my opinion here, might have had substance abuse problems. Because I did this too. I talked about this in another video, that I shoplifted. And I remember the one time I got caught. I was in a supermarket here in my town, and I went in there with the intention of stealing. And the messed up thing, this is why I say I got my soul back. I've said this several times. And I was a different person back then. I remember getting the urge to shoplift, like really wanting to do it there was no fear. And I would shoplift whenever I used. At this time, I went to the supermarket with one of my friends, and there was a bundle. I had a bundle, 10 bags of heroin, that I put in the trunk of my car. I went in, me and my friend separated, and I located VHS tapes. This was back probably in the early 2000s or late 90s, because I've been clean and sober for 16 and a half years. And I stuffed, I don't know where, I can't remember where I put them, but 3 VHS tapes of Seabiscuit, the movie. This was a long time ago. And I headed for the door, and a security guard came up right just like this when I was going out the door. I didn't fight at all. And I still remember the security guard saying to me, "It's a good thing you didn't," because I'm a big guy, and he was nervous that I was going to fight. And he told me right up, one of the first things he told me was, "A good thing you didn't try to run or fight, because that would have been a felony charge. That we would have added a felony charge to this." That's one of the first things he said to me. And I just, I was like, okay, I'm caught. They banned me from the store. They took a Polaroid, so they'd recognize me if I ever went back there again. They called the police. Here's one of the most embarrassed. Well, I'm embarrassed now. Back then, I had no feelings about it. I just wanted to go on my way and use more drugs. But the policeman that showed up was in my graduating class in high school. Was somebody I went to high school with in my grade. Went all through school with. And we're out by my car, standing by me. So he's taking down all my information just to make a report that I'm trespassed from the store, but I'm not arrested. And I'm leaning against my trunk, which has 10 bundles of heroin right in it, which he doesn't know about. And he lets me go. I go on my way, I use my drugs. And this I remember doing this like every day. And I don't know what causes this. It's easy to say that drugs cause a lack of morals, but it really, I did things back then that I had no measure of right or wrong. And this wasn't even to not get sick. This was just to get more money, to get more drugs. It was just to steal, really, because I already had the drugs. But stealing is a main way to get drugs. It's one of the main paths that addicts use every single day. They go in, they'll steal baby formula. They have a place where they can sell it for this much on the dollar. They sell it, and they get their drugs. It's a way. It's probably a huge drain on the economy. Okay, getting back to this video. So the security guard, Michael Anthony, has no charges against him. He says in this interview on CNN down below, he says that when he was holding Banko Brown, she said that she was going to stab him, but there was no knife found on her. And then he says this. He says when they were face to face, when he was pulling his gun, he says, it turns out she was just going to spit on me. That he says that in the interview. So he saw her like, go to spit on him. And he pulls out the gun. And you see this. You see the moment. She turns around. And from my view of this, he shoots her in the back as she's walking away with the merchandise. Now, this is another thing. I saw the desperation. Most people, you'd have to be crazy because the security guard says he told her to leave the stuff there. But Banko Brown ignored the security guard, even after getting almost choked out, went back, picked up the merchandise. And that to me says desperation. To me, that was one of the biggest signs that this is an addiction issue right here. If you're in recovery, you'll hear this several times, that addicts have no fear of death. Every day, when I wanted to die every day. I hope to die every day. There's no fear of dying, literally. And I don't say that to sound cool or anything. There's almost an urge for it. And nothing else explains Banko Brown going back. There's not gold in these bags. It's not going to change this person's life. That to me says, right there says desperation. From a drug addict's mindset, once they get that stolen, they head for the door, they're already thinking about what that's going to buy their drugs for the day. And now this is a plan, the fuse is lit, and they need this, right? Then the security guard gets in her way. She drops the bag, but she's got to get that bag because in her mind, those drugs are already her schedule, her plan, hers. Then she picks up. Now, I can't think of any. Watch this, and you'll see. She goes back and picks up the bag when he tells her. I don't know. He might not have even shot her if she had just left the bag. There would have been less reason to shoot her over a bag of stolen merchandise. But that right there, her even being told to leave it, and she picks it up and takes it anyway. That tells me that there's addiction involved in this. And being like I said, I'm not picking on transgender people or gay people, but when I was in NA and AA meetings, I heard over and over again people from the LGBTQ community stand up and talk about things they went through and things that led being abused, being picked on, being thrown out of their house and whatnot, and how that led to drinking and drugs. So, to me, I really think that recovery is the answer to get people to stop doing this. Now I'm clean and sober. I would never even consider stealing. Here's something that just popped in my head just 2 or 3 days ago. It was raining in the morning. I was out for a walk. It's 7 a.m. And this is how much I've changed. And I walked by a car. It was an older, very old, maybe 15-year-old car. And the window was down. And it was raining. And there were several houses around. So I don't know which house this car belonged to. And it was on the side of the road. And as I walked by the open window with the rain going in, there was a purse in the middle of the bench seat. As soon as I looked at it, it looked like an older person's car, like a retired person. The way it was kept, the way, the stuff on the dashboard, religious items and stuff. I got the feeling it was an older person's car. And they probably forgot the window down the night before or the day before and left their purse or something in there because it was sitting right in the middle. And the first thing that occurs to me is, how can I help this person? How can I get, now so I look around, it's 7 a.m. I can't go knocking on doors and asking whose car this is, So I ended up leaving the car there, which I felt very bad about, leaving that purse inside the car sitting there. I walked by the next day. And, the car was fine. The purse wasn't still on the seat, but it was locked up. The window was up and everything. So I hope it all turned out all right. But the first thing that occurred to me now, it feels like I have my soul back. That's what I'm trying to say here. I really believe that. If you're in recovery, when I say you get your soul back, I really mean that. And I think there's a good chance that Banko Brown might have been suffering from addiction. I think there's a really good chance. And that's just my opinion. Watch the video. The links are down below. Let me know what you think. Have a good Wednesday.